All right, so step number one is to set some constraints for your diet or your meal plan. A constraint is basically just a limitation or a restriction that you place on your diet, because if you were to just eat everything or anything, then you probably won't lose weight. Think about when you're trying to look for a house or look for somewhere to stay. You might say to yourself, I want 3 bedrooms, I want a semi-detached house, I want a back garden, I want a sauna. And all of these put constraints onto your search so that you find the house that you want to live in. And it's the same principle that you can apply to your body. You can apply constraints to your meal plan so that you end up achieving the body of your dreams. Now, the way that we're going to build these constraints is by thinking from first principles. What this really means is that we're going to take some of the known truths, and based on these known truths, we can think about the constraints that we need to put on our diet so that we end up creating a diet where, one, we can be as free as possible, so we can enjoy the foods that we love, so it is sustainable, but it still allows us to lose weight, too. So the first constraint that I'd like to place or suggest is a calorie target, because this comes from the first principle that a calorie deficit is necessary for fat loss. What this means is that we're going to be burning more calories than we're consuming. And so what a calorie target is going to do is going to allow us to adhere to that calorie deficit consistently, because we know how many calories that we're coming in. If we plateau and our weight isn't coming down, but we're adhering to a consistent calorie target, then it just means that we have the data to make the changes that we need to make in order to lose weight, okay? So if you want to calculate your calorie target, take your body weight in pounds. So let's assume you're 85 kilos, which is about 190 pounds, times it by 10, and you get 1,900 calories. Now, I must say here that everybody's different. Every person's body is different. Some people have fast metabolisms, some people have slower metabolisms, and so this is just a ballpark figure to get us started, and it is necessary to track the data and make logical changes as you go along. So now we have a calorie target, we now need to think about the next constraint that we need to put on our diet. And the known truth that I would like to share with you is that protein helps us retain muscle. There are countless studies to show that people that eat a high protein diet burn more fat and build more muscle when they're in a calorie deficit, even if calories are equal. And from that we can deduce that we need to make sure that we're consistently hitting a protein target every single day. And so studies show that 0.8 grams per pound of body weight is sufficient. And for someone that's 85 kilos, that would be 150 grams of protein. So we now know that every single day we need to eat 1,900 calories and 150 grams of protein. Cool. So step number 2 is that we want to set some guidelines for ourselves on how often we want to eat and how many times per day we want to eat. The reason for this is that often when you're overweight and you have been gaining weight for a while, you probably don't have any structure to your meals. I'll give you an example for me. When I was younger, I used to have a bowl of cereal in the morning. And when I say bowl of cereal, like proper bowl of cereal, I'd have Crave, Weetabix Minis, Cocoa Pops, Cinnamon Grahams, anything that you can think of in one bowl, semi-skim milk, at least got a little bit of protein in there, and then some orange juice. I'd eat that, and then 2 hours later, I would have a Nutella bagel at break time. And then sometimes I'd have an angel cake, then I would go and have lunch, sometimes twice. Then I'd have a snack straight after lunch, maybe a packet of crisps. Then after the last lesson, I would come home and have a bowl of this Indian snack called Jelro. And then after that, I would have my dinner. And so you can see here that there was no real structure. I was just constantly eating just for the fun of it. And when I started to lose weight, what I found was that I still tried to maintain the same meal frequency and the meal timing that I used to eat, but just in smaller portions. And so I was still constantly eating. And what I've had to do over the last couple of years is actually unlearn this belief in my head that I need to be constantly eating, which is weird, right? Because it's something I'd always done. And when I moved out into London with my friends, I was staying in Tooting, we moved in together. And one of my friends, I noticed that he has a pretty structured routine. He's always been in shape. And so I just observed him eat, and he would have the same breakfast at the same time every single day. He'd have a similar lunch and a similar dinner. Breakfast would be a bit smaller because that worked for him, and lunch and dinner would be slightly bigger. But he would keep it exactly the same. He might have a protein yogurt in the evening. And when I realized that, I was like, oh, okay, I've been tracking my calories, but the thing that I haven't been doing is actually having a structured meal routine. And what I've found recently, or over the last couple of years, when I have implemented more of a structure, so having breakfast, lunch, dinner, maybe a snack in between, I find it way easier to adhere to my diet. I end up consuming less, I have more satisfying meals. And so there's so many benefits to doing this. And it prevents me from snacking on shit that tend to have higher calories, that are hyper palatable, and end up making me get fat. So for most people, I recommend that 3 meals a day with a snack is sufficient. At the moment, what I'm doing is I fast until 1 p.m, I'll have lunch, I'll have a snack in between, maybe a protein shake, and then I'll have dinner. So 2 meals and a small snack. But honestly, it's completely up to you. I think the main principle here is to find something that works for you and just stick with it, because it really does help in preventing over consuming in between meals. And honestly, with all the people that I work with, I think one of the biggest factors to not being able to lose weight is just eating like nuts between meals. And if you think about it, like 8 cashews are 100 calories. So imagine you are eating every so often. You have your meal, you have your breakfast, lunch and dinner, but then in between you're going and you're having a few nuts and you're having a bit of dried fruit and you're having a piece of fruit. That could easily add an extra 500, 600, 700 calories per day to your meals, taking you out of a deficit. And so just by having this structured routine of, okay, I know that when I'm having my breakfast at 9, I'm having my lunch at 1, I'm having my snack at 4 p.m, I'm having my dinner at 7, it means that you're less likely to go and have those extra snacks, which is going to keep you in your calorie deficit and allow you to burn fat and become that person that you want to be, who can walk onto the beach with their top off feeling great, okay? So now at this point, we have a calorie target, we have a protein target, and we know when we're going to eat it. The next step is literally just to fill them up with the right foods. So most people think that once they have the calorie target and once they have the protein target, they can just fill the calories up with any foods. In my experience, I've actually found that eating whole foods most of the time is actually going to help you the most on your fat loss goals. So when I first started dieting, I would have a pretty stupid diet looking back on it, right? I would like starve myself throughout the day, and then every single day I would look forward to this massive high protein bowl, right? And I'd have it after dinner. So I was already full at this point anyway. But after dinner, I have this massive high protein bowl, and it would be a protein pancake. They don't even do the protein pancakes anymore, which is pretty upsetting. But yeah, they'd have this protein pancake. On top of that, I would get these MyProtein soy balls. I'd put them on top. I'd get a Lindau's protein pudding, which you can put in the microwave and it turns it into custard. So I'd put that on top. And then I'd add frozen berries, sugar-free syrup, and this would be about 500 calories of just basically processed shit. And although I was hitting my protein target, although I was hitting my calorie target, I just don't think it was the best for me at the time. Now, I was still able to lose weight. This is where people who say, oh, if it fits your macros work. Look, I'm not disputing that I was still able to lose weight. However, I think that firstly, I was eating so much food just before I went to sleep, so my sleep was definitely impacted by it. But more than that, I was probably not giving myself the best chance of building muscle. There's probably so many things that go in through your body that I can't even explain in this video because I don't know. But there are probably so many things that go through your body that we're not even aware of. Just understanding the fact that our food turns into our cells, and if we can just give ourselves the most nutrients and the most high quality ingredients when we eat, that's probably going to give us the best possible chance of using those foods for the optimal use. And so that means building muscle, going to the gym and lifting weights. And I feel like when I eat whole foods, my physique improves way more than when I just eat this processed shit. I'm doing 75 hard at the moment, and I'm eating about 1,800 to 2,200 calories per day on average. And one of the rules is to eat no processed foods. And so I'm just eating like whole foods, chicken, meat, beef, eggs, vegetables, like these really great ingredients. And I just feel so energized. I feel like I'm recovering so quickly from my workout. I'm getting stronger and building muscle. Look at that. I'm like a week in, 10 days in, and I'm seeing massive improvements in my body. And I don't think I've ever seen such quick improvements. And my weight isn't even moving down like really rapidly. That's the thing. And so when you eat good foods, there's probably things that we don't know about the way that our body uses food, which means that sometimes when we eat processed food, we think that it's the best thing for us because we're hitting our protein target, we're hitting our calorie target, but we don't know that actually using these foods with nutrients like broccoli and chicken and beef and eggs and tempeh and tofu are actually going to make sure that we have more energy, we sleep better, we lift better, we build more muscle. And so these factors go into our overall feeling and how many calories we're probably burning on a day-to-day basis as well. And so that is definitely step number 3, where we know how many calories we're eating, we know how much protein we're eating in a day. We know the frequency to which we're eating, and we know at what times we're going to be eating. Now we just need to make sure that we're filling up these meals with good, high quality, whole food ingredients so that we put ourselves in a position to build as much muscle as possible, burn as many calories as possible, feel good, make sure our gut is working properly. And because of that, we're just going to be in a really good position. A general rule of thumb here is 80 to 90% of your food coming from whole foods, and then 10 to 20% coming from things that you actually like. Maybe a Pop-Tart now and again, or maybe a piece of cake, or when you go out, maybe have a beer, although questionable on the alcohol thing. That's a topic for another video. But that's it, it's so simple. And I think online, it really is complicated sometimes where, people say don't eat carbs and don't eat this and don't eat sugar and eat avocado. But honestly, just find the foods that you enjoy, stick to a calorie target, make sure you hit your protein, and make up your foods from single ingredient foods, and you're literally there. If you like this video, then check out my full guide on how to lose 40 kilos, because that is probably going to be really helpful for you. It's got everything that you need to do in order to lose 40 kilos. And yeah, good luck on your journey. Remember, become the person that you want to be. Peace.